Hi, y'all. I'm Katherine Fleming, and today I'm here with the senior varsity girls lacrosse captains, Caroline Kent and Colby Frieden. And to start off, I'm going to be asking some questions. So, can you explain to me some of the main differences between girls and boys lacrosse?
Yeah. So girls lacrosse is probably less physical in the sense that in guys lacrosse there's less rules about hitting each other, and like their defense has these, what are they called, deep poles, and they're really really long. They're probably about 6 feet long, and so when the ball is on the defensive side in guys lacrosse, they're able to kind of just like smack it out. But there's a lot of rules in girls lacrosse about having, for example, horizontal sticks, and for example, being in the 8-meter area near the goal for more than 3 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, do y'all tend to have more technical skills because y'all are doing less like body to body and more direct skills?
Yeah, I feel like in practice, at least like yesterday, we worked a lot on like defensive approach to avoid getting called for fouls. So like we work on like approaching with our sticks up, like Caroline said, not being horizontal, stuff like that. So like our technique on defense, I think, matters a bit more because it's a lot easier to get called for fouls.
Yeah. Okay. And so I guess you just kind of answered that, but I don't know if Caroline wants to add, how do those differences like affect your practices or game strategy for you?
Yeah, so our practices are very, at least for tack, play centered. I think we have some defensive plays, but those will probably come later in the season. But yeah, we work on a lot of plays. We have one called Mustang that we've been working on, and then we just introduced this new one called Bronco. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into who cuts and who's setting picks. It's kind of like basketball in that way. So we kind of plan it out ahead of time in a way. Like our plays are pretty flexible still, but our coaches kind of like to set us up in that way for games so we're not thrown out there with no plan.
And do y'all do specific practices for where y'all watch film and review some of those, or do y'all just go out there and figure it out?
We kind of watch film like outside of practice throughout the season sometimes with the coaches, and also our coaches watch like other teams' film before games to kind of give us a summary of like who their best players are, like who we should focus on defending.
Okay. And what would you say is the best part of girls lacrosse that makes it different from any other sport?
So I think with girls lacrosse, it's really special because you can kind of start out in any grade. We have a couple seniors even that are just starting this year, that are already amazing. So I think with a lot of sports, sometimes it can be difficult because you have to have started as like a 5-year-old, or I mean
soccer.
Yeah, we all like grew up doing soccer and top hat and all that. So yeah, I think sometimes those sports can be hard to get into, but that's why lacrosse is really nice. Because like I started in 7th grade. And a lot of my friends did as well. I think Colby's been playing for a really long time. But yeah, it's been really interesting being able to grow from, I guess, an older age in the sport.
Yeah.
And so that kind of makes it this like unique experience where people are kind of coming in at different ages and grades and kind of getting to know the sport as they go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so y'all are both captains this year. So I wanted to hear a little bit about what it's like to be a captain, specifically compared to last year, when y'all were not captains on the team, and kind of what big responsibilities come from that most people don't have the opportunity to see.
I think with being a captain, you kind of feel a lot of responsibility with like maintaining energy at practice. Like you're responsible for more than yourself, and like keeping everyone's energy up. Like last week, we were kind of having some problems with that, so we would pull the team together and like have conversations throughout practice about how we can maintain that energy.
Yeah, I think last year, I was talking to Colby, but there's a lot that kind of went over my head as just a player. I think last year it was easy. I mean, especially as a junior, being so overwhelmed with work and school and college and all that. So it was kind of easy to come to practice and kind of let the captains handle team energy. And so I think this year the biggest change for me has been I could be having a bad practice or getting in my head about things, but it's about more than yourself. And kind of keeping track of the team energy is even more important than just your energy. So yeah, what Colby was saying is like getting the team together, and especially before games. We will sometimes come to Catbackers early and just have some team bonding time before the game, which has been really special. So yeah, that's definitely been a change this year, but I think I can speak for both of us when I say it's been a very special experience.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you have a way bigger role. The coaches come to you before anyone else. So y'all are definitely a big part of making a change or growing the girls lacrosse program. So on that note, do y'all have any big goals that you want this year to improve on compared to last year?
I think a big focus this year is on like team bonding. I think last year we were close as a team, but we didn't do a lot of like team dinners or team sleepovers. And I think that it kind of, I think, translates onto the field and shows a lot when a team is very close and trusts each other and works together well. Like, I know we talk about this all the time, but our sophomore year, there were 14 seniors, and they were all, like, they did a really great job of making sure the team was extremely close, and that carried through the whole season.
Yeah. Also, like, I think spending so much time at practice, like 2 hours a day plus 2 games a week at least, you really have to want to be there.
Yeah.
And when you're giving that much time to an extracurricular, like wanting to be there and coming to practice every day with like a smile on your face is super important, and that comes from wanting to be with the girls and being close as a team, because past skill, I think lacrosse and any team sport in general is just about your team dynamic and how much, just like Colby was saying, how much you trust each other on the field, defense, attack, middies, how much you're able to work together in that way.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think it's also like important for people to know on the field that like if you make a mistake, nobody's like upset with you, and I think that also comes with trust.
Building like the friendships on and off the field, I think, is a big key with all the sports. But on that note, or if you have like an upcoming middle school girl thinking about trying out for lacrosse or getting into it, do you have any pieces of advice for them?
I would say don't get intimidated about your skill level, because I think it's such a team sport that if you're thinking about trying out, like knowing that you're working together with such a big group of girls, I think like as a freshman, it was a little bit intimidating, but knowing that the older girls also are so excited to have you on the team and get to know you, I think.
Yeah, and then I know for me, I've grown up watching boys lacrosse, and we already discussed about there's some big differences, but what about girls' terminology in lacrosse that most people would not know?
I think one difference is that like you start out or at the beginning of each half or each quarter, I guess now, and after each goal we do the draw, which is where like two people, it's hard to explain, but it's like, I mean, one girl from each team stands together and the ball's like between your sticks and you go up, and that's different from boys lacrosse because they call it like a face off. And also in boys lacrosse, sometimes like the face off person is like, that's like their only job. So like on some teams, like they'll do the face off and come off the field, but that's like different.
Don't they call it I think it's called like a foga.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard of the Fogo.
Yeah. But yeah, and then guys will like start on the
Yeah, let me
ground,
start. Yeah.
which is interesting. But
But it's almost like complete opposite.
yeah.
Because I've seen both, and y'all are like jumping up in the air, and they're like on the ground, like
Yeah.
wrestling for it.
It's it's almost like the basketball, like what is it called?
Yeah,
Oh, did I tip off?
the tip off. Yeah.
Yep.
And then okay, now Colby, you play primarily defense. So I was wondering, what is your biggest strategy for defense when you're down and y'all, how do you get the energy more positive?
Yeah, I feel like Badge talked about this a lot last year. I kind of try to have the like goldfish mentality is what he would call it. Like if you've been scored on like several times in a row, to kind of like put that in the past, get it out of your head, like start each point as if it's like 0-0. And also after like every time we get scored on, we kind of have like a little huddle, talk about like what happened, what we can do better next time.
Yeah. And then Caroline, you're primarily on offense. So can you tell us about how you keep that positive mindset to get to the goal, and also big communication skills offensively and what impact that has? I remember I watched y'all's game the other day when y'all beat Marist, and y'all definitely had times where y'all slowed down and passed, and then times where y'all attacked through the center more. So
Yeah, attack is really interesting because there are so many different ways that you can take it. I think a lot of it is about your creativity, which sounds weird. But kind of being able to see opportunity. It's really easy to want to just go straight to goal. But then sometimes that begins to not work. And so you kind of have to take this step back, and we'll have a lot of attack only meetings. Like if something's not working, we'll all get together in a little huddle and talk about it. So we'll talk about the next play we want to call. And then we also have this thing called wheel, where if the ball comes down and we really just want to slow it down, we'll call wheel, which is basically where we just pass in a circle however many times until we want to call the play, which has been super, super helpful for us over the years because it kind of recenters you and gets your mind in a place where you can then work together to score more. Because, as I said, like sometimes when the ball's coming down really fast, and this works really well, but our middies will do something called a fast break where they'll just go, and then attacker will do it as well. And they'll just go straight to goal, which does work, but it can tire everyone out pretty easily. So wheel has been a really good way to recenter ourselves and work as a team.
that's awesome. And then what advice would y'all give to underclassmen about being a student athlete? I know earlier you talked about like the long 2-hour practices, games after school. So as seniors, how do y'all handle that?
I think it's kind of important to take advantage of free periods. I feel like that's something I'm not always great about, but it helps a lot. And also like going to office hours, utilizing the resources that you have here.
Yeah. I would say like looking at the game schedule in advance. Like last year I was talking about, junior year was pretty, I think, hard on all of us. But what helped for me was looking at the game schedule, and then if I had to test, for example, the day after a game, I would try to prepare more in advance than I would have. And then also with homework, kind of knowing that you're going to perform better. Sometimes it's more productive to just go to bed. And you can always wake up early, which has worked for me a couple of times. But sometimes, it is more productive to just go to bed and get a good night's rest rather than staying up super late doing work.
Yes. And then my final question is, what do y'all hope this team is remembered for at the end of the season?
I would say, I mean, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but like, I think everyone kind of talks about the team that we were sophomore year. I mean, that was the year we went to state, but I think the biggest thing was how close we were that year. And I think that like looking beyond like your record of the season, like how the games went, I think that like the friendships you carry with you from that last a long time. So.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I would say, even just past skill level, obviously we want to hone in on that and cultivate our skills. We have a pretty young team too, so that will be really exciting in the coming years. But yeah, definitely focusing on how we interact with each other. If we can come out of this season and know that we enjoyed every single practice and wanted to be there every day, then that is enough.
Oh, well, thank y'all so much for coming in. Do y'all have any final thoughts?
Just to come out and support. We have a ton of home games this year, which is super exciting.
Yes. That's awesome. Well, wonderful. Thanks again. For WCAT Chats, I'm Katherine Fleming, and thanks for listening.